Namaskar, this is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. We are in the last week of 2023 and it feels like we're ending with the headlines we began with. This has been the year of job cuts across companies, sectors and countries. Today, fintech giant Paytm has fired 1,000 employees. Top banks fired more than 60,000 people this year. Tech companies slashed their headcount the world over, and this is set to continue. As technology transforms the job market, we'll discuss the trends and the takeaways tonight. Meanwhile, India has deployed 3 warships on the high seas. The defense minister says we'll find and punish those who attack the ship bound for India. Chinese mouthpieces have launched a smear campaign. They're calling India the graveyard of foreign companies. We'll set the record straight. Pakistan is set for an election with the top opposition leader in jail and a terrorist's son contesting. Russia claims to have made a big gain in Ukraine. It has captured a key town. Also, why India wants to buy lithium mines in Argentina, lithium blocks in Argentina. What's driving the violence in Nigeria? Why millennials are most prone to phone accidents. How Bollywood will remember 2023 and why ski resorts are struggling to survive. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Netanyahu says the war will not end until Hamas is destroyed, Gaza is demilitarized and Palestinian society is de-radicalized. This comes as the Prime Minister was heckled in Parliament by families of hostages. Putin critic Alexei Navalny found after his lawyers claimed that he was missing. He's been traced to a prison in the Arctic Circle known as the Polar Wolf. It is one of the toughest jails in Russia. Azerbaijan expels 2 French diplomats, saying their conduct was not compatible with their diplomatic status. Last month, Azerbaijan accused France of inciting conflicts by arming Armenia. The Libyan stock market resumes trading after 9 years. Trading was suspended in 2014 due to the country's political and security situation. The initial trading day saw limited activity. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hits a new milestone, becoming the first world leader with 20 million YouTube subscribers. At a distant second is former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro with 6.4 million subscribers. And time runs out for Apple to keep its watches on the shelves. US President Biden declines to veto an order that bans Apple watches. In October, the company lost a patent dispute over its pulse oximeter feature. Apple can no longer sell its latest smartwatches in America. Tonight, we focus on the job market. This year has not been great. Increments were disappointing, vacancies were fewer, and layoffs were rampant. Thousands of people lost their jobs. 2023 was the year of bad news on that front, and the trend may continue into 2024. Even in the last week of this year, the headlines look like this. Paytm has sagged 1,000 employees, say reports, and this is a big company. An Indian fintech and payments giant. Why has it sagged 1,000 people? To boost efficiency. And how will they do it? Using AI tools, artificial intelligence. It is replacing humans with AI. Paytm says it tried this for a while for repetitive and mundane tasks, and it worked. AI apparently proved to be better than humans. Look at the company's statement. This is what they've said, and I'm quoting, AI has delivered more than we expected it to. So Paytm is going all in, weeding out redundancies in the workforce and hoping to save some money in the process. And this sentiment mirrors a broad trend. Companies are cutting expenses, maximizing savings, and trying to do more with less. There's a clear shift towards austerity. Case in point, major global banks. In 2023, they cut 60,000 jobs, 60. And which banks were these? UBS and Credit Suisse, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. As many as 20 leading banks are still laying off employees. They're facing difficult times. Over the past 2 years, investment bankers have made less money. New deals have dried up. Fewer companies are going public. Investors are opting for safer bets. So there is less business overall. And this has had an impact on earnings. Since banks are making less money, they're protecting their profit margins by reducing the headcount. So the signs are clear. The layoff wave of 2023 will continue into the next year. In fact, it began last year, and it has affected practically everyone. The shining example is the tech sector, one of the biggest casualties of this layoff cycle. Over 400,000 employees worldwide have lost their jobs. Non-essential goods sellers laid off more than 100,000 employees. These include car companies like Ford and furniture retailers like IKEA. In the healthcare sector, companies have slashed over 20% of their staff on average. Even accountants have not been spared. The big four accounting firms, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers, they've all let go of staff. More than 300,000 employees of these companies left in 2023. So what explains these mass exits and sackings? The job market is undergoing a transformation, a disruption triggered by two events: the slowdown of the economy and the rise of new technologies like AI. They have led to big changes. They've led to a churn that will leave us with fewer jobs for humans. A recent survey confirmed this. The World Economic Forum spoke to 800 companies. These are companies that employ some 11 million people today across 27 industries in 45 different economies. 800 companies. These companies were asked about the future of jobs. How do they see the workplace evolve in the coming years? And the findings are revealing. The companies said they'll create more jobs, but the overall workforce will reduce. By 2027, these 800 companies hope to create 69 million new jobs. At the same time, they will also eliminate a lot of positions. How many? How many will be eliminated? 83 million in all. Now do the math. 14 million fewer jobs. So what's the big takeaway from this? The learnings that we could take for 2024. The job market will become more competitive. Companies will pay a premium for versatile skill sets. And there is an AI takeover on the horizon, not the kind that you saw in Terminator, but machines will take over mundane jobs. And the role of humans in the workplace will change. What kind of workers will be in demand then? I have a list. Not surprisingly, tech roles top the list. AI and machine learning specialists, they will find many takers. So will business intelligence analysts, people who study and analyze big data. They will be in demand. Information security analysts, those who can protect organizations from hacks and breaches. And renewable energy engineers, those who can enable a shift towards clean energy. So you see the broad trend. Jobs will change as our world changes. The key is to evolve, to acquire skills that will make you sought after. What do you do when your neighbor buys a car? Ideally nothing, because it's none of your business. But if you're a bad neighbor, you can do a lot. You can criticize the model, you can compare it to your own car, or you can badmouth it. In this case, China is that bad neighbor, and the car is India's economic growth. Let me explain. Last week, Indian officials arrested 2 Chinese nationals. Both were top employees at Vivo. It's a Chinese mobile giant. Its Indian unit is accused of money laundering. Of course, China rejects it. Beijing has adopted a twin strategy. Officially, they're appealing to the Indian government.
We urge the Indian side to fully understand the mutually beneficial and win-win nature of China-India economic and trade cooperation. It will provide a fair, just, transparent and non-discriminatory business environment for Chinese enterprises to invest and operate in India.
That's their official approach. What about the unofficial one? To know that, all you have to do is look at Global Times, news website / Xi Jinping's personal diary. They're on a roll since the arrest. Multiple articles have criticized India's investment landscape. They say India is the graveyard for foreign firms. Now let's be clear, these are not news articles. They are hit pieces, exposing China's insecurity and animosity. And just look at the statements. I'm quoting. Some people have summarized India's consistent strategy as luring foreign companies in, deceiving them, and then unjustly robbing their achievements, turning foreign results into Indian ones. 2 things to note here. 1, who are these some people? They have no names. They have no stated jobs or expertise, but somehow we must believe their analysis. And 2, robbing achievements. That's rich coming from China. We're talking about a country that specializes in copy-paste. They steal intellectual property for fun. Last year, China's state-backed hackers targeted 30 multinational firms. Guess how much they stole? Intellectual property worth trillions of dollars. We're talking about missile blueprints, solar panels, vacuum technology. All of it stolen. Yet China has the audacity to accuse India of robbing, and that too without evidence. Their whole argument is based on 2 claims. 1, that India is hurting Chinese phone companies to help domestic ones. And 2, that India is trying to appease the West. Neither is true. India banned China's TikTok way back in 2020, much before the Western crackdown, much before any other country contemplated a ban. Who was India appeasing then? Plus, China has a record of money laundering. There have been cases in the US, Italy and the United Kingdom. It was so bad that the FATF had to flag it. Now, the FATF is a financial watchdog. In 2019, they took aim at China. They said Beijing has, and I'm quoting, incomplete understanding of the risks linked to money laundering. So the charges against Vivo are not unprecedented, and it's not just India. Chinese companies are in the dock everywhere, like Huawei, ZTE and ByteDance. Which brings us to the most important question. What is China's problem with India? In simple words, the new car. India and China had contrasting fortunes this year. China's economy stumbled. It was held back by zero COVID and Xi Jinping's crackdown on everything. But India surged ahead. The IMF called India the star performer. Even next year could be the same. China is projected to grow at 4.6% in 2024. India could grow at 6.3%. I guess New Delhi is stealing Beijing's thunder. It is emerging as a new engine of growth, and clearly China cannot accept that. Hence the smear pieces on Global Times. And it's not limited to 1 or 2 articles. This is a sustained campaign that is underway. The end goal is to drive investors away from India. They have a catchphrase too. Most articles call India the graveyard for foreign companies. Fun fact, no one else calls India that. If you Google the phrase, only Chinese results pop up, like Xinhua, China Daily and Global Times. It's a neat trick, but an old one. So our message to China's mouthpieces would be this. It's something that therapists love saying. Don't project, meaning don't push your insecurities on someone else. India is not robbing anyone's success. China is. Similarly, foreign companies are leaving China, not India. It's time to wake up from communist Disneyland and smell the coffee.
जिन्होंने भी इस हमले को अंजाम दिया है उन्हें हम सागर तल से भी ढूंढ निकालेंगे।
Now let's turn our attention to the high seas, where India is coming under attack. We told you about this yesterday. A ship bound for India was hit by drones. A ship called the MV Chem Pluto. The attack was followed by a blame game. The US is blaming Iran for it. Iran is denying it, and India is not taking any chances. New Delhi has made up its mind. It will defend the Indian Ocean and punish those who are behind the attack. This is what India's defense minister said.
अरब सागर में हाल में हुए यमवी चैम प्लूटो पर ड्रोन हमले और कुछ पहले लाल सागर में यमवी साईं बाबा पर हुए हमले को भारत सरकार ने बहुत ही गंभीरता पूर्वक लिया है। भारतीय नौसेना ने समुद्र की निगरानी बढ़ा दी है। जिन्होंने भी इस हमले को अंजाम दिया है उन्हें हम सागर तल से भी ढूंढ निकालेंगे और उनके खिलाफ कठोर कार्रवाई की जाएगी। मैं यह आपको आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं।
It's a strong declaration of intent, and it is being backed by action. India has deployed a third warship to the region, the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. The INS Kochi and the INS Kolkata were already there patrolling the waters. Now they've been joined by the INS Mormugao. It's a Vishakhapatnam class guided missile destroyer. It's quite new, commissioned barely a year ago. The INS Mormugao brings with it some serious firepower. Earlier this year, it successfully test-fired an advanced variant of the BrahMos missile. The Navy called the ship a potent example of India's firepower. And now this firepower will be turned towards aggressors in the Arabian Sea, and this could be just the first step.
We have now decided to bolster the numbers. So while two ships, two major platforms are there already in the Gulf of Aden to Gulf of Oman, in the central to northern Arabian Sea, we got 2 more units deployed. We are going to augment that further, and by robust action, I mean we are going to board and search all suspicious vessels.
That was India's Chief of Naval Staff. He says India will now board and search suspicious vessels. India will also deploy additional warships in the days to come. The first objective is deterrence. Because look at where the ship bound for India was attacked on Saturday. The MV Chem Pluto. It was attacked near India's borders, about 220 nautical miles off the Indian city of Porbandar in Gujarat. That's technically out of Indian territory. A country's exclusive economic zone ends at 200 nautical miles. This attack was at 220, so not Indian territory strictly speaking, and yet too close to be ignored. India doesn't want hostile forces to get any ideas, hence the forward deployment, and that's the first reason for pressing warships into action. The second reason is this: India wants to lend support to help other nations facing attacks.
Our effort is also to be the first responder and also work with all our friendly foreign countries to ensure that there is common understanding, coordination, and trust that we will work with them as a preferred security partner.
India is hoping to become a preferred security partner for its allies. It wants to take a leadership role in the Indian Ocean, be seen as a dependable ally who can keep merchant ships safe. Now, that's an ambitious goal, but India is not new to this. India has been fighting piracy on the high seas for years. This is what the naval chief said, that India has sent warships to both the Red Sea and the Guinea coast of Africa. Indian forces have conducted anti-piracy drills. They have repelled dozens of pirate attacks over the years, so the upgraded role of Arabian Sea Guardian is just a matter of course. With the help of its partners, India may be able to restore peace and order in the Red Sea. And global maritime trade will benefit from India's intervention. It's election time in Pakistan. We are just 44 days away from voting. The constituencies have been redrawn, the nominations have been filed, and the opposition has been jailed. So a typical Pakistani election. Some 28,000 nomination papers have been filed so far, and I must say that diversity is laudable. On one side, you have Savira Prakash, the first Hindu woman to contest Pakistan's general elections. She'll be fighting from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. On the other side is Talha Saeed. You may not know him, but you do know his father. 2611 mastermind Hafiz Saeed. The senior Saeed set up a political party called the PMML, the Pakistan Markazi Muslim League. It is now contesting elections. Hafiz Saeed's son is fighting from a constituency in Lahore. How about that? We're talking about a convicted terrorist here, a man who plotted to kill hundreds of innocent people. Even his party is in the fray, and his son to boot. Tells you everything you need to know about Pakistan elections. But let's go back to Savira Prakash. Which party does she belong to? The PPP, the Pakistan People's Party of the Bhutto Zardaris. Her father too is a PPP leader. Prakash is a doctor by profession. She used to work in Pakistan's government hospitals, and that's why she turned to politics. Apparently, those hospitals are very poorly managed. So Prakash thought, let's fix this. Her nomination is being discussed and praised, but it also tells a story. Pakistan has been independent for more than 7 decades. They've held more than a dozen elections, yet the first female Hindu candidate came in 2023. Why do you think that is? Because Pakistan's minorities have always struggled for representation, for progress, and often for survival. But let's go back to the election. All the political heavyweights have filed their nomination. Nawaz Sharif has filed his. So has Bilawal Bhutto and Imran Khan. I know what you're thinking. Isn't Imran Khan in jail? Yes, he is. But his party workers have filed his nomination from 2 seats, Lahore and Miawali. It's an uphill battle, though. Last week, Pakistan's Election Commission dealt a major blow to his party. That's the PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. The party had just concluded an internal election. They'd appointed a new chairman. But the poll body of Pakistan said that this won't do. They struck it down. They said the internal elections were invalid. So no new chairman. Plus, they also took away the PTI's poll symbol, the cricket bat. So 2 setbacks in one blow. So what did Imran Khan do? He approached the Peshawar High Court today and guess what? He got his bat symbol back. So the judiciary is Imran Khan's last remaining hope. Last week, the Supreme Court granted him bail in the Sifar case. But don't expect him to walk out because Imran Khan has more than 150 cases against him. But for Nawaz Sharif, it's the opposite. The courts are his last obstacle. In 2017, the judges convicted him of corruption. They also handed him a lifetime ban from politics. A lot has changed since then. Sharif's convictions have been overturned, but the ban remains. So technically, he cannot contest the election. No one seems bothered, though, not even Imran Khan. After all, he too has been banned from contesting. Here in India, we call elections the dance of democracy or democracy in action. Not in Pakistan. There, elections are the slow death of democracy. In the Ukraine war, Russia has claimed another win. It says it has captured yet another Ukrainian town, the town of Maryinka. It's a crucial frontline town. It's been called Russia's most significant gain since the capture of Bakhmut in the month of May. Although Ukraine has rejected this claim, it has also hit back by striking a Russian warship in Crimea. But the big picture looks grim for Kyiv, a failed counteroffensive and a war chest that is drying up with allies reluctant to pour money. It's clearly advantage Moscow right now. Here's a report.
2023 started as a year of hope for Ukraine. They were pumped about their counteroffensive. Aid was pouring in. The West was rallying behind them. It was their year to win the war, to turn their losses into gains. But 12 months later, they've reached a stalemate. The gains are few, the losses are mounting, and Western aid is dwindling. And if that wasn't bad enough, Russia is hitting back. On Monday, Moscow captured the town of Maryinka. It's located in eastern Ukraine, just outside Donetsk. So it's almost like a gateway to the region. Russia says the town is theirs.
During active offense employment, the assault detachments of the South Group today completely liberated the settlement of Maryinka, which is 5 kilometers southwest of Donetsk. Ukraine's armed forces constructed a very powerful fortified area there during the last 9 years.
This is Moscow's biggest victory since the capture of Bakhmut in May. The Russian president hailed the capture as a success. Maryinka is a frontline town, and it's been an important one for Ukraine. Since 2014, it has acted as a defensive barrier. Since the war broke out, Ukraine has launched attacks on Donetsk from this town. So capturing it was crucial for Moscow. It will help them cement their control.
We are pushing the enemy's combat units away from Donetsk, first of all. Secondly, by breaking into this fortification, which the enemy has been building since 2014, having built a significant number of reinforced concrete fortifications, communication routes. By breaking this fortification, our troops have the opportunity to reach a wider operational area now.
So Russia says Maryinka is theirs. But Ukraine has rejected these claims. They say their forces are in the city and that they are still fighting for it. They say Maryinka isn't fully seized yet. So while Ukraine doesn't accept it, it does seem like another win for Russia. Their offensive is intensifying and it looks like they want to turn the tide this winter. So Ukraine may have to act fast to prevent that. They did try on Monday. They hit a Russian warship on a Black Sea port. One person was killed in the attack. Russia hasn't said much, but they have confirmed it.
A huge job has been done. A big assault carrier was destroyed, and it was part of a fleet to which the Moskva missile cruiser belongs.
So that's where things stand as of now. We are entering 2024. In 2 months, it will be 2 years of the war. Russia still captures 1/5 of Ukraine and is mounting more and more attacks. Ukraine, on the other hand, promised a defining counteroffensive but hasn't achieved much in 12 months. It's now in a defensive position. So neither is Russia winning nor is Ukraine. But it certainly looks like Moscow has the advantage now. As the war nears 2 years, the question is, will things change in 2024 or will it be more of the same? A never-ending stalemate.
Now let's talk about a different kind of war. This one's not about securing territories, it's about safeguarding economies. And at the center of it is this metal, also called, it's lithium, also called white gold. Countries are racing to acquire it, and India doesn't want to fall behind. It has set its eyes on 5 lithium mines. They're in Argentina, and India plans to acquire them. A report says negotiations are in the final stages. The proposal includes an investment clause, and if the deal goes through, New Delhi will invest some 200 crore rupees in these mines. That's over $20 million US. This money will be invested over 5 years. It will be used for the exploration and development of mines. India is in talks with 2 more countries, Bolivia and Chile. Now, these 3 countries together, Bolivia, Chile and Argentina, form a special group. They're called the Lithium Triangle. And they could become a powerful bloc in the future. 2/3 of the world's known lithium reserves are here in this bloc, inside this lithium triangle. And as of now, Chile has a clear lead over the rest. In 2021, it produced 26,000 tons of lithium in 1 year. That's almost 30% of the global output. The others are catching up, and India is eyeing the best deals. It is thinking long-term and developing a range of sources for lithium. In 2022, India signed a pact with Australia. Australia is the largest producer of lithium. The pact gives India access to 2 lithium blocks and 3 cobalt blocks in Australia. India can undertake exploration activities there. And these are very important initiatives because lithium is being called the new oil. Can you imagine a day without your laptop or your smartphone? I'm sure for most of you the answer is no. And all these devices run on components made out of lithium, including the battery. Batteries are made of lithium. They power most of our technologies today. From the smartphone to the smartwatch and even electric cars, they all use batteries made of lithium. You could say lithium powers our lives. It is a key pillar of the digital age. And as more high-tech products enter our lives, our dependence on lithium will increase. So India needs a steady supply of it. But there's a challenge. As of today, India relies heavily on China. New Delhi imports large amounts of Chinese lithium. This year, 2023, our imports were worth $2 billion. Over 50% of India's supply comes from China. You could say China has a monopoly. There is an over-dependence, and that creates a vulnerability. India and China are not friendly neighbors. They're engaged in a standoff. And Beijing has shown little inclination to fix this. So India's dependence on China is a weakness, and China could easily exploit it by cutting off supplies, leaving Indian manufacturers high and dry. And this is not just about trade anymore. Lithium supplies are integral to India's economic security. So India has no choice but to expand its sources, seek more suppliers, and turn to friends in South America. But what about India's own reserves? They won't deliver immediately. Their potential could take a long time to realize. Earlier this year, some reserves were found in Jammu and Kashmir. Apparently, there's 5.9 million tons of lithium there, 5.9 million tons in Jammu and Kashmir. But India lacks the capabilities to mine this reserve. So for the moment, it will have to depend on imports, and it must be from diverse sources. Our next story comes from Nigeria. The West African country is reeling from attacks. At least 160 people have been killed. Over the weekend, this killing spree happened. The so-called bandit militias attacked about 20 communities in central Nigeria. The bandit gangs are active in the central and northwestern regions. They regularly attack villages and kidnap residents. Sometimes they also join hands with religious extremists and bring a religious angle to the conflict. And for years, Nigeria has struggled to deal with them. Our next report brings you the details.
Bandit militias struck Nigeria over the weekend. They hit at least 20 communities in central Nigeria's Plateau state, leaving a trail of destruction and bodies behind. The numbers are still coming in, but at least 160 people have lost their lives. Over 300 are wounded. The Plateau state's governor called the attack barbaric, brutal and unjustified. Local leaders are urging the government to act. The governor has promised proactive measures, but the locals don't seem to be taking any chances. Some residents of the affected villages have begun leaving. They're packing up their belongings and fleeing. Nigeria has failed to bring the bandit militias to heel for years now, and the villagers don't seem to think anything will change soon. Nigeria's bandit problem has persisted for years, since at least 2011. It's an escalation of ethnic and religious tensions that plague the country. Nigeria's northwest states are home to nomadic herders. They began clashing with farmers in the region. This happened in the late 1990s. The herders were mostly Muslim. The farmers were predominantly Christians. So, the conflict eventually took on a religious angle. After this, terrorist groups got involved. Some of the herders started working with terrorists from Boko Haram and the Islamic State, and that further escalated the violence in Nigeria. The bandit groups now attack villages, kill some of the residents, and kidnap others for ransom to help fund further attacks. It's a vicious cycle. The Nigerian government has tried fighting these groups for years. After every attack, the government retaliates, but to little effect. The bandit militias operate out of a thickly forested area in the country's northwest. They slink back into their forest hideouts after every attack, and that's why they've been so hard to stop. Successive Nigerian governments have tried bringing about an end to the attacks. They've conducted raids, airstrikes, slain dozens of the bandits. They've even offered amnesty deals to try and get the bandits to surrender. But so far, all their attempts have yielded no results. The locals are tired of the Nigerian government's failure, and have been for a while now.
Now, we only need peace and security, and we are still calling on the government to come to our aid. We farmers remain insecure because these people are still operating in the areas that surround our farms.
International groups have called out the Nigerian government's weak response. They say that this failure is becoming the norm. Unless the Nigerian government acts decisively, such horrific attacks will become more routine.
A zombie apocalypse is upon us, not the brain-eating kinds. This is a smartphone zombie apocalypse. Step onto any street, anywhere in the world, you will see slow, shuffling, bow-headed pedestrians glued to their screens. This is the new normal. And with it are phone-related injuries, from bumping into furniture to body aches to even road accidents. Drivers using mobiles are 4 times more likely to get into a crash. Over 1 million people die in road accidents every year the world over. Many of these deaths are attributed to smartphones. So what can be done about it? Our next report tells you.
How much time do you spend on your phone? Chances are the number hovers around 4.8 hours. According to research, that's the average. Believe it or not, people spend an average of 4.8 hours a day on their mobile phones. That's about 33 hours a week or 73 days a year. And this comes with digital damage like the smartphone thumb, selfie elbow or texting neck. These are real orthopedic conditions with mildly funny names, but all of them are quite serious, especially the texting neck. The average human head weighs around 5 kgs. When sending text messages, people crane their neck forward by 45 degrees. This places about 22 kgs weight on the spine, 4 times the pressure that's considered normal. Cervical muscles are exposed to more tension and it continues for about 33 hours a week, leading to all kinds of problems. On top of this, if you use your phone while walking, you're exposed to an array of accidents. This will not come as a surprise to anyone, but research confirms it. People texting while walking are more likely to have accidents. Phone-related accidents are on the rise the world over, especially in America, where the incidents have seen a 20% jump since 2020. And studies say millennials are most prone to such accidents. Now, they have tons of problems these days. Mass layoffs, the cost of living crisis, a population crisis. So it makes sense that they're looking into their phones to escape reality. Unfortunately, they simply end up tripping over cords or bumping into furniture. And sometimes even more alarming scenarios occur, like road accidents. Around 270,000 pedestrians die every year globally. Mobile phone usage is a major cause behind these deaths. For instance, in the last 2 decades, phone-related pedestrian injuries have increased by a whopping 800% in America. The problem is so vast that countries have laws against it. Honolulu has banned texting while crossing streets. So has a Japanese city. A South Korean city installed laser beams at road crossings to alert phone-scrolling walkers. A Chinese city opened a 30-meter cell phone lane on roads for pedestrians who are busy on their phones. But this isn't just a problem for pedestrians glued to their screens. It's a major cause of concern for drivers too. Road accidents kill over 1 million people worldwide each year. They are the 8th biggest cause of deaths. Drivers using mobile phones are 4 times more likely to get into a crash. For instance, in 2021, about 2,000 road accidents occurred in India due to the use of mobile phones while driving. Yet, despite the jarring statistics, cell phone addiction is pervasive. Over 30% of Britons are addicted to their phones. So are 39% of Indians and 47% of Americans. This is such a serious problem that it has its own name: nomophobia, or the irrational fear of being unable to use your mobile phone. The reality is, cell phones aren't going anywhere. In the modern world, our lives often depend on our phones, and they are useful tools. But as they say, too much of anything is good for nothing. So don't forget to look up every once in a while, because smartphone addiction is injurious to health.
How will you remember 2023? I know how the Indian film industry will remember it as the comeback year, and a much needed comeback too. During the pandemic, Indian cinema was struggling. Production houses were shut, theatres were closed, so the audience turned to streaming platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime. As a result, Indian movies lagged behind. Your normal everyday stories did not pull in the audience. They wanted something more, a bit of an X factor. Some movies did give them that in 2022, like KGF 2 or RRR. But those were South Indian films. Bollywood, on the other hand, struggled. We've compared the numbers. The highest grossing Bollywood film in 2022 made 430 crore rupees. KGF 2 made 1,250 crore rupees, around 3 times more. Many people thought it was game up. They said Bollywood must adapt or perish. Well, they have adapted. Look at the top 10 grossers of this year. 6 of them are from Bollywood, including the top 4. Why do you think that is? For starters, the formula has changed. Everyday stories are out, big budgets are in. That's something the pandemic taught us. People go to theatres for a visual experience. They want to be wowed. Just look at the top 3 grossers of this year: Jawan, Pathan and Animal. Look at their making budgets. More than 150 crore rupees each. In fact, 9 out of the top 10 movies cost more than 150 crore rupees. So the message from the audience is quite clear: spend more to earn more. If you give us everyday stories, we will wait for the OTT version, and you can't blame them. In early days, movie halls had a pull factor: great screens, stunning sounds. You couldn't get that experience at home. But now that pull is not enough, because televisions and speakers have improved a lot. Some have become cost efficient. So you need something extra to pull people into cinema halls. Bollywood realized that this year, hence the numbers. And why just Bollywood? Every Indian movie industry has realized that. We hear about the success of KGF and RRR. That doesn't mean every South Indian movie was a hit. Dozens of them flopped at the box office. The difference is, a lot of us don't hear about it. So my point is, it is a nationwide trend. Movies can't be pastime anymore. They must blow you away. Of course, there are exceptions like OMG 2, or the Kerala story. But not every movie can replicate that success. It's not a bankable strategy anymore. We also saw another trend in 2023, A-listers turning to streaming. I know it may sound innocuous, but if you're an actor, how does it make a difference? How does streaming or the big screen make a difference? Well, it does. Streaming is new and widely available, so early on, it was looked down upon. I'll give you an example. Last year, actor John Abraham was asked about OTT, whether he would work for streaming platforms or not. Do you know what he said? He said he's a big screen hero, that he doesn't want to be available for 299 rupees. Well, things have changed now. We've seen many A-listers joining streaming, like Saif Ali Khan, Ajay Devgan, Madhuri Dixit, Shahid Kapoor, Alia Bhatt. All of them have worked on streaming platforms. I guess it's been normalized and moving forward, maybe even mainstreamed. But the question is, what next? Will everyone start making big budget action movies? If they do, the audience will grow tired of that as well. Just look at Marvel movies. Same style, same budget, same recipe. It worked for almost 10 years, but the new movies have not done well at the box office. So you can't take the audience for granted. The key is to adapt, to give them something new and interesting. If not, they will look elsewhere. It was OTT during the pandemic. It could be artificial intelligence next. For our last story, let's talk about Christmas. It's often synonymous with snow. You think Christmas and you imagine a winter wonderland. But if you're dreaming of a white Christmas, I hate to break it to you, it could soon be a distant reality. All thanks to climate change. It is playing Grinch. Temperatures are rising, snow is melting, ski slopes are out of snow, and ski resorts are struggling to survive. By the end of the century, most of them will have to shut shop. Our next report tells you why.
Are you among those who dream of a white Christmas? Playing in the snow, making snowmen, skiing down snowy slopes, and enjoying a walk on frozen streets? Well, think again, because your dream may just be a dream in a few years. Winter is melting away, and snow is as elusive as catching Santa Claus with your presents. So, what's bringing about this change? The answer is climate change. The Earth is heating up. 2023 was the hottest year on record. In most parts of the world, it's not as cold as it used to be. And definitely not cold enough for snow.
For me, it's not normal because we're used to real winter, like cold weather. I think for here it's extraordinary as well because the people who live here tell us that it's not really normal for this time of the year to be this warm.
From the Arctic Circle to the Southern Cone, Christmas is lacking snow now. In fact, by the year 2100, snow could disappear from all of the UK. In the US, 64% of the locations lack snow on Christmas. So a white Christmas is elusive everywhere. Unless you're in Alaska, or China, which is dealing with a cold snap. And even if there is snow, it's so little that it's more brown than white.
There will be a little bit of a buildup of snow, so some people will get their dream, their wish, and get a white Christmas, right at the last minute there. But most of the country will have a brown Christmas, not a white Christmas, unusually so.
But what does a warmer winter mean for the world? The first thing is changing activities, like skiing. It's a popular sport in the winter months, but if there's no snow, how do you ski? And that's a question many ski resorts are asking. They're battling for their future. Take the Alps, for instance. The snow cover here has reduced drastically. It's less by 36 days now. Or even America. By the end of this century, most ski resorts will have to close shop. Some are even resorting to snow making. But it's an expensive process and uses too much water and energy. So, what's the solution? The International Ski Federation has urged a cut on emissions, and that's the demand across the globe, to keep emissions under control and prevent the Earth from heating. However, it's easier said than done. Climate summits, climate agreements, climate protests. Nothing seems to be able to save the white Christmas. And as long as the Earth keeps heating, winters will become warmer and wetter, not whiter. Looks like Santa may soon have to swap his sleigh for a surfboard.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak channeled his inner Kevin McAllister in a new Home Alone-inspired skit. Looks like 10 Downing Street is a lonely place to be on Christmas. In Gujarat, thousands of women dance in concentric circles in a message of peace and harmony. And swimmers in Berlin take a traditional chilly Christmas Day dip to mark the holiday season. Finally, we are taking you back in history. On this day in 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami ravaged coastlines across 12 countries. It was caused by a large underwater earthquake near Sumatra. The tsunami caused widespread destruction and claimed more than 200,000 lives. It remains one of the worst natural disasters on record. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Am I the only one here?
Number 10, press on this.
Harry, you've got the wrong number.